Are you looking for a faster video? Well, today it's a live stream, and I know you're probably looking for a really nice and tidy, edited down video, but I have ways for you to make it faster. You can click that little gear on the YouTube settings right there on the video and adjust the playback speed, make me sound like a chipmunk, and it'll go a lot faster. You can also look and see if there's timestamps for this project in the description, and if you're on a desktop, you can hover over the time bar at the bottom of the screen and see if it's chunked up into chapters, and then that way you can go directly to the step you're looking for. And lastly, you can also tap on the screen on the right hand side of the video picture or on the left hand side to make the video jump ahead, forward or backward if you're on a mobile device. And you can adjust that amount in your settings so you can have complete control over how much it jumps. So if you are on a desktop, you can use the fast forward or the rewind, and that will make it go faster as well. You can also enable subtitles, and the little CC on the screen will enable closed captioning. That way, if I am a little bit harder to understand with that double playback speed, the subtitles might help you out. All right, well, I know that it's not a nice little edited video, but if you sew with me, we'll get there together and it'll be lots of fun. And now for the live stream. Happy sewing! Hey, I had trouble doing an exclamation point with one hand, so that was my hey in chat. How are you? Hey, Delwyn and Emily and Barbara. Hey, Gloria, welcome back. Hey, Mullen, how's it going? I tried the, so just in case some of you don't know, one of the viewers, Libby, just went to Sweden to visit her daughter who lives in Denmark, right? Or Holland. Where does she live? I'm so terrible about this. Hi, Aisha. And she met Malin, the mod, and another viewer. And then Malin gave her some licorice to give me, and Libby bought me some as well, and I just got the package yesterday. So I tried in the decorative box you gave me, I tried, and it's made in her hometown, which is really cool. Like, I don't think I will ever be able to claim that I live in a town that makes black licorice. Denmark, thank you. Sorry. Hi, Libby. Hi, Margaret, Fiona, and Sydney. So I tried the sweet one in the box, and I tried the salty raspberry one. And I really liked both. The salty raspberry was the one that I was most intrigued by. I don't eat a lot of red licorices, but I'm not opposed to it. I love red vines at the movies, you know, the cheap stuff. It's not cheap at the movies, though, right? Libby's daughter lives in Denmark. Okay, yeah, in Copenhagen. Ah, that sounds amazing. And I also tried the fish, the salty fish, in the separate package. I liked all of them. I don't eat a lot of salty licorice, and I love salty foods. And I'm really glad I haven't, like, jumped on the salty black licorice thing, because I get dark circles under my eyes like immediately. You know, like people say, oh, dark circles, it's sleep related. No, for me, it's if I eat anything salty, especially, you know, past 8 a.m. Hey, Donna. So, but I really liked them all, and it's so tempting. I just want to binge eat all of them. So thank you. I'm really enjoying it. Michael left out of town yesterday for the weekend too. So I was like, look what I got. Anyway, welcome everybody. So today I am sewing the Sydney dress. I actually didn't plan on doing this as a live stream, but I cut it out already. So the cutting out is very simple. I did some serious fabric Tetris because the fabric I'm using was a 2-yard sample of a design that I was trying out on Spoonflower. And I don't think it's published or anything. So Yes, me too, Mullen. I can't imagine not. There's only been like one black licorice. I'm like, yeah, I won't eat that again, you know. Even ones I get, like I get a variety, I've learned that you need to eat them separately. Sometimes I don't like one and then I eat it away from the others and I like it. So I love it. So yeah, so the Sydney dress is very simple. I was just doing a few drawings because this is the pattern cover and you really can't tell. Like I feel like some of their patterns are better than others where you can tell what the style is. This one's pretty hard to tell what it is, what's going on. And so between the Sydney and the, I think it's the Piper, they're very, very similar on the website. Yeah, exactly, Libby. Totally. I ended up going for the Sydney because it has a circle skirt. I really did struggle to figure out what the differences were, and I finally did, and I can't remember. I'm really sorry. So the Piper is very similar. This comes in a top and a dress form. It has different neck shapes. So there's, you know, scoop, jewel, V-neck, things like that. It is supposed to be a lined bodice. I will not be lining the bodice, and if you're doing a V-neck, line the bodice because it's really, really, really hard to finish a V-neck on a neckline when there's no band that you're sewing into it. It's just a, like that's the cut edge. You have to treat it. So line it if it's a V-neck. That's my biggest tip here. So there's a shirt version has like a peplum around the waist there. So basically it's like as if you cut the dress really short. So that's the difference. There's different sleeve lengths as well, and there's different dress lengths. And all of the skirts or peplum, however you want to look at it, are not gathered. They're all circle or half circle. So you've got a lot of volume at the bottom with no bulk at the waist seam, and I kind of like that. So I've been looking for a replacement pattern for the Monetta dress by Colette. I still get a lot of people asking me where they can find the Colette pattern, and you can find it used or on places like eBay. So I'm kind of I'm kind of disappointed that they would discontinue some of their really tried and true patterns because they were really some of the best pattern drafting for indie patterns out there was the Colette patterns, and I don't know why they would. Anyway, hey Chaz, nice. That sounds great. It was snowing at my office yesterday. My office neighbor was like, "Hey, did you see outside?" I was like, "What?" I can't see anything. I can't see anything through this like curtain thing. I walked up there. I was like, "Holy heck, what the heck's going on out here?" And it was like hail, but they were like soft snowballs. So they were the shape of hail, but they were soft. And then it turned to snow, and then rain, and then it was both. And then I was like, I'm out of here. Because Michael's out of town. I got to get down the hill. Otherwise, I don't want there to be an accident or something. So I wanted to get home. So it was fine. Cold at my house, though. Hey, Martina. Cold for us. I don't want to hear it. So anyway, I'm excited to try this dress out because, like I said, I really love the Monetta dress. It was a very simple, this is kind of a bad sketch of it. The Monetta had a higher neck. Weirdly, the front neck was higher than the back neck, and I never sewed it that way. And it also had a slight cowl version. I never sewed either. Grapple? What's grapple? What's grapple? What's called that? It had gathers. So the Monetta had a gathered waist, right? So I love the Monetta. I could make one of those in a half hour. It's so comfortable. It came in a ton of sizes, and 5 out of 4 patterns always come in a lot of sizes. So that's really great. So I've been looking for a replacement, and today's my day. So I'm making a short sleeve version. Scoop neck in the front. My back neck is a little bit lower than that, about there. Knee length side pockets. Cover stitch hems, even on the neck and on the hem. I'm doing one tricksy thing on the pocket. It is my pocket themed month. Oh, really? Tiny snowballs? That's what you're, what? There's an, oh. Am I saying it right? Is it grauple or grapple? I'm not saying that. That, if there, you know, what's the term for when a word sounds like the sound of the word actually sounds like what it is? You know what I mean? I can't even think of a good example of that. Like kerplunk. You know, you kind of know what kerplunk is, right? Just so I can refer people, Libby. That's all. I still have the pattern. I do still have the pattern. You're right. I still get comments on one of my videos. They're like, I can't find this pattern anywhere. I'm like, I'm really sorry about that. I'm not here selling patterns though, so it's not my responsibility to do that. But I also really this is like a go-to pattern. This is the best summer dress. I love Spoonflower fabrics, but they don't have a lot of fabrics that are directed at garment makers. It is onomatopoeia? Oh, okay. You said a weatherman. Yes, okay, yeah. That grapple is as far from an onomatopoeia as that could be. Right? Like, what's the opposite? What's the term for opposite? English? I don't know. So yeah, I don't know what I was saying, but I do like the knit selection on Spoonflower. I think it's really, really good. Oh, that doesn't even, that's definitely not English. I wonder, what's the origin of that? I might have to look into this word. Corn snow and hominy snow. I love that so much. Hominy, I love hominy. Talk about a food I see once every 10 years in California. Hominy. Unless I'm at the grocery store. I see it occasionally there. Underrated food. Corn snow. Why not just tiny snowballs? They were literally tiny snowballs. It is German. That's what I was going to guess. Yeah. Interesting. You guys are always teaching me things. I love it. It's anti-onomatopoeia. That's a mouthful. I can't believe I just said that. And I didn't screw it up. Right? Grauple. I'm going to tell my neighbor that there's a term for that. Because we were like catching it. We were like, what the heck is this? It was landing so softly, but they were coming down so forcefully, but they weren't making that noise. We were like, what? This is so funny. Because they were like snowballs. They weren't flakes. I guess that's the distinction. So very exciting for, you know, I mean, my mom was so funny. I was like, are you guys at your new house? And she said, yeah, and the heat's not on yet. And she was like, she was trying to make a play on the fact that in paradise, it was thunder, snow, and hail and rain all at one time in the town of Paradise. You know, the irony of the name. Anyway, I'm going to get back to sewing. So anyway, that's what we're doing today. Women's Sydney Peplum dress, 5 out of 4 patterns. If you're interested in any of their patterns, I do have an affiliate link, and it's linked in the description. So no pressure. Here's my fabric that I'll be doing. I was trying to recreate, well, not recreate. I have a 40s book of 40s fabric designs, and I was trying to do a play on the like dots and stippling. And so this is my fabric that I'm doing. So that's why I was able to do the little Procreate image on the thumbnail, because it was really fun. Oh, do I? Is it appropriate to put on the screen, Aisha? Let me check. I don't want to get demonetized. You know, I need that $130 a month. Wait, why do you want me to, what's so special about it? Wait, tell me ooh, look at those pictures. Oh, this is so fascinating. Weather is amazing. Okay. Yes, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I'm not going to put it on the screen. I'm going to get to the sewing. But that is really cool. This cord is going to cause some problems here. I don't know where you came from and why you're loose, because usually they're all tethered. Yeah, it is. It is just interesting. It's true. I started looking at some of those images, and the image for a snowflake, like it actually looks like a snowflake. I didn't. Anyway, I feel like I'm about to put my foot in my mouth. All right, so here's one of the things I'm going to do differently about this pattern is this is the pocket piece outlined in red. I'm going to sew this so that I can serge the whole thing without doing separate layers of pockets. I just launched a new skill building session in the guild called It Has Pockets. It's like part 1 and it has a ton of pockets, all these videos, how to sew them, all kinds of information about them, how to attach them or change patterns that need them, if you want to switch out your pocket, whatever, right? So this is kind of expanding on that, as I didn't actually show this style. I mentioned it a few times. Side seam pockets are probably one of the most used pockets, but for me, their inherent flaw is that they flop around, right? They can flop to the back of your garment or the front of your garment. If you have keys in there and you go to sit in your car and you sit on your keys, it's so annoying, right? So in a dress, this is particularly annoying because it's all loose, so you don't even have the leg of the pant to kind of define the direction of the pocket. And in knitwear, further, to make it even weirder, knitwear is really annoying because when you have something heavy in your pocket like car keys, which would be the most obvious thing to kind of drop in there really quickly, it's kind of heavy for the knit. And so I'm going to sew my pockets out of a woven, and I'm just using a lightweight fabric that was on the end of a roll of stuff I bought from Spoonflower, and it's like their lightweight poplin. That's it. Yeah, exactly, Malin. That is so cool. It's related to avalanches. That makes sense because it does seem kind of heavy. Like our parking lot was instantly thick with it. Like it covered faster than snowflakes. And then it calmed down. But it's cold. Kind of weird. So this is my pattern piece. So what I did was I laid the pattern piece on the garment. And so this is the side seam and this is the waist of the garment. Just ignore the gray line. This is just scrap paper. And then see how the original cut line is right here. So this is fine. This pocket works great. It is a perfectly acceptable pocket shape. It's the most versatile one you can have. But if I want to overlock around the edge, and this is already attached to my garment, what happens is you can't turn this corner right here with your serger. You can if you put your knife down, if you have that capability, but it is a really tight space. And so what I did was I just made it so that I have a nice smooth transition to this side seam when I come down. And then what I'll do is the only thing I'm going to have to go back and do is use my single needle machine or the straight stitch to define the opening, which I always do anyway because I don't like it when the opening is as big as the pocket. So this is all extra up here because it's going to get anchored at the waist seam and the side seam. Now I know this looks like a lot of fabric, but trust me, it's worth it. And it's a lightweight fabric. So originally I cut my pockets out of it's a knit that doesn't stretch. It's like a knit lining fabric. And then I decided that I wanted it to be not that stuff because it just seemed kind of fragile. So I just opted for this poplin. In fact, all my poplins are different shades of white because of different shipments. So I'm using poplin for two reasons. One, I didn't have enough fabric for all 4 of my pockets because I was cutting it so close with this 2 yards. And I have more to say about that for another reason in a second. But I don't want my pocket to show in the side seam, so I made a little pocket facing, and this is what I did. So I just did like a 2.5-inch strip that goes straight up from the bottom. And I don't really want to anchor it in the waist seam, but you can if your fabric's not too thick. And you can do this with knits or wovens, it doesn't matter. And I just kind of went around, I kind of just quickly did that. So I'll probably overlock this edge, top stitch it down, and then if someone sees inside of my pocket, they'll only see the green. So and you'll see that in a few minutes when I sew it. All right, so the last thing I want to say, because I was so scared about how much fabric I had, and I know that I run a little bit short-waisted, I didn't want my skirt to get too short, but I needed to cut some of it off. So what I did was I cut it out in some scrap knit fabric that was actually the same exact fabric base, it's just like different print. I don't remember what it was, just some extra. And I tried it on my dress form. I know not everybody has a dress form, but I wanted to show a few of the things I did to change it fit-wise, because I think it'll be a little startling to see what kinds of fit changes I need, because they're not typical. None of us are, right? And then it allowed me to raise up the waist seam on the bodice, which meant I could also have that back for the skirt length. And then I could also go, okay, now I know this length from shoulder, because if you're trying to measure the length of a dress skirt, you can't measure from the waist seam to find out where it's actually going to hit you, because if you don't know where this waist seam is going to hit you, you might be measuring in the wrong place. And then you can end up with something too short or too long, right? So if you're ever trying to figure out what the length of this dress is going to be, you need to measure from the high point at shoulder, right here, this juncture of the shoulder and neckline, roughly about there. Measure from there, overlap your skirt seam, and measure to the hem, and then do the same thing on you. If you want a truly accurate measurement, you will do it where you put your shoulder seams together like this. Line up your side seams, line up your shoulder seams, and then measure in a big long loop, hem over shoulder to hem, and then you can really get an accurate thing. And sometimes you have to do that if you're really skint on fabric or you're doing sewing for someone else. So you got pelted with grapple on a really windy night with 1 kilometer. Oh gosh. Yes, it's very wet snow. Exactly. Okay, so here, I did this all over again. I printed out the pattern pieces and I cut it out of a different knit. This is not the knit I'm sewing it in. It's not even close to the kind of knit I'm sewing it in, but it's still going to illustrate some of the things I changed. So you can see, like, this is okay. I don't mind it being a little loose around the waist. That's fine with me. I don't really like this right here. I don't like the shape of this armhole. It looks like it's pulling right here, right? You can see it's even cupping my armhole here. I don't have the fake sleeve on here, so it's hard to tell. So the other thing that's going to be really hard to see on the screen is, you see how loose this is? It's really tight right through here. Now, I never considered this area right here as something I would look at as far as fit goes initially. It might be something that I would notice later on, but I wouldn't be able to put my finger on it, because that's not what we look at, right off the bat, right? We're always looking at the waist, the armhole, the bust, these areas here, and maybe we're looking at this cross shoulder here. I bring this up because my other skill building session about sleeve fitting, this would affect this, and you might want to think about this if you're trying to fit your bodice. I know a lot of you are. Hi, Elena, how's it going? So this is what I did. I'm going to, okay, yeah, I just want to make sure I wasn't going to back up into something here. So what I did, watch what happens when I cut right here. It immediately starts relaxing. And I can see that I really needed some fabric here. This kind of helps a little bit, this armhole back here. It'll drop it, make it a little bit more relaxed. Let's do it on the other side. What made me think about doing this too is, do you remember when I fit the bluet dress? I noticed it on that one too. So instantly this kind of drops down and it's a little bit more relaxed through here now. And so what I do is I figure out how much it's going to be. I kind of look at the whole garment here. I'm going to pin this out. There's no darts in this dress, so we have to get kind of creative. This could probably do with a full bust adjustment. I'm not going to go into that, but there is a full bust adjustment version of the bodice that you can cut out, just so you know. So you wouldn't even have to do it. You can just cut out the full bust adjustment bodice. I didn't even think to do that. I'll just be honest with you guys. All right. So I pinned this little dart out. What I do appreciate right now is that this dart looks like, if this were actually a dart, it would share roughly where my apex is. My apex is in a really weird place. My boob is very flat through here and wide. That's probably because I had a breast reduction a really long time ago. So I don't really, you know, we all have different shapes. So the other thing I realized too, once I got this kind of hanging a little better, this fabric is really thin and stretchy, whereas my other stuff isn't as stretchy and it's a little thicker. And so it would play nicer. When you're fitting stuff like this too, you try not to pin it to the person, if like to their clothing, or you want to pin it to itself. So then what you would do, get a piece of fabric and put it behind this, and we would pin these pieces to that fabric, right? I would also probably try and see, can I get this a little bit more symmetrical? Like, am I doing anything to make it that this and this could be a little bit more symmetrical? Or am I that asymmetrical? Because we all are asymmetrical, right? All right. So the other thing I'm not liking is this, this shape right here is kind of kooky. I don't mind a close armhole because it'll give me more mobility around my arm, but you know, I would want to fill this in right here, and I'd probably want to drop it in. And remember, this armhole has 3/8 inch seam allowance on it. So let's look at it when we take off that seam allowance and see, what do we think then? This armhole has this little piece of batting here, and that's for when I put my sleeve on there to kind of smooth out the crevice I get. We're going to look on this side. Right, Barbara? Exactly. That's pretty cool, huh? You know, and I haven't seen that very often, but it didn't even click that that was in there. Let me see if I could tell you any more about it. There's a whole page about determining if you need a full bust adjustment. It's very, very straightforward. You know, actually, I think I just followed what they said, and that's why it said I didn't need one. So it tells you if you're measuring here and you're measuring here and the difference is this, pick this pattern piece. So it tells you. Yeah, it totally could be, Barbara. Yeah, right, Beverly. Beverly, I have that sway back issue, and this is why I decided also to fit this. Look at how much nicer this is already sitting, because I released this tightness up here, right? It was so tight across my shoulders, and I don't necessarily have like a hump here, but it's definitely more filled out across my upper shoulders. So it's just something to think about and how this affected the fit of everything. And then I shortened my bodice to this. I have a waist seam on my dress form that I was really careful with deciding what I thought that waist seam meant to me. I created a cover for my dress form. It doesn't come with a cover that tells you your landmarks because those are very, you know, personal preference. So I created this cover so that I know, like, you can't see it probably, but there's a princess seam on here, there's a waist seam. I do have an apex. I have like 2 apexes marked on my dress form because I could have a few different places depending on what the garment is. So these are some of the things I did. So now this right here, this is easy, right? So what have we done when we do this? We have now made the armhole bigger here, but smaller there. So right now we're still okay with how our sleeve is going to sew to the bodice. I think this dart is slightly bigger than this amount here. This dart's smaller, that part's bigger. This one's smaller, that one's bigger. So I could probably, if I had a more stable fabric, it would probably be a little bit easier to determine, and I'm kind of rushing through this right now. So right now, what we're thinking about is if we were to do this change, and we didn't do this change, we would need to be a little bit more concerned about how the sleeve's going to fit into the armhole, because now you've increased the circumference of the armhole, but you haven't changed the sleeve. And that could be totally fine because you kind of can get away with a lot with knits, right? Hey, Terry, how's it going? So The only thing now that really bugs me about this is the shape of the armhole. I really would like to bring it in here to like here and drop it a little here. You know, get more of an oval shape that's rotated right here. And so those are the changes I made. So now, okay, now the last thing that is kind of a pain in the butt is what am I going to do with, how am I going to get rid of this? This is easy, right? I just add some paper there. We're good to go. Smooth it in. What I found was that I had to kind of bring it in right here. And my pattern pieces are over there. Otherwise, I'd show you them. I could show you these changes on here, but I'm hoping that this is at least illustrates what you can do. Oh my gosh, Barbara, I ruined this piece of linen fabric. You can't, it looks good on camera, but you see how dingy mine is? It accidentally got washed with brand new indigo denim. So I have this 3-yard piece that's ruined. I should have made underwear out of it. I didn't even think of it because it's separate. So, see, look, there's the indigo. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. It's pretty bad. It's all over. It's tie-dyed. All right, so this little dart here, so what am I going to do? How am I going to get rid of this dart? I can't just cut that out. So I have my pattern pieces here. I'll show you what I did because you have to kind of put it somewhere that's a little easier to make disappear, all right? It's hunky dory. That's, why? Okay, so let me show you how I dealt with that. I'm not really trying to tell you guys to do anything or teach you anything in particular. I really just want you to know that you can play around with these things and just know that it's okay. You don't have to do these prescribed fit changes that you see in the home sewing world. Do what works for your body. It's totally okay. There are a lot of areas where you can get into trouble if you're not keeping things balanced and with right angles at seams. And those are things that you'll discover on your own, and it's really hard to just give a full list on those things. But if you're already exploring the fit of things and you're really challenging, like, does this really need to be like this? You're already going the right direction. Oh, that's funny, Barbara. Oh, sorry, Siri. I was talking to Terry. It doesn't even rhyme. All right, so here's this little dart, right? All right, so we're going to put a pretend apex, right? Here's the apex. Apex just means it's the fullest part of the bust. And when you back off of the apex, like about an inch in any direction, that's the vanishing point of a dart. So the end of a dart. That's all that means. All right, and so we're just going to, so the places you could pivot this, if you had a dart here, you could pivot it there. If you had a dart here, you could pivot it there. We're going to just put it down here. All right. There's probably more technically accurate ways to deal with this knit dart, but we are doing this quick and dirty. And we're just trying to figure out, oh my gosh, do we have enough fabric? You know, can I get this to go? Can I get this to fit? All right, so now let's pivot that out, right? So now we've closed that little dart, right? And we've made this bigger one down here. So now what we can do is chop this off of the side seam. So that's quite a bit, right? So maybe I don't really want to get rid of that much right there. Let's try and not affect our side seam too much, right? So I think on my pattern piece, what I did was I kind of did a little curve. Straightened it out a little bit and did this. I also trimmed off of the bottom here by quite a bit. And then, so, you know, I think I did something like this. And then you need to blend this in. Make sure you get your right angles are always on folds, right? You need to try and get right angles at side seams. This is my new side seam right here, right? And then we need to make sure these side seams are still going to sew together. All right, we need to raise this one up a little bit. And then we go back and we go, all right, if we overlap this, what kind of transition do I have here when I sew this if I have this overlapped on a seam allowance, okay? We'd fill this in, this little armhole, this little point right here, we'd fill that in. And then remember, we're cutting across the back shoulder and opening that up a little bit. So those are all the changes that I did to this. And as far as this volume, because I pivoted out and I added it there and then I trimmed most of it off right there, now you can kind of go, all right, do I want to trim out any more? And maybe I should look at, is my side seam still in the right place? Do I like where it's at? You know, do I want to, you know, maybe redistribute the fullness that's on the waist there? And there's other ways you could do that, because now you could start maybe pivoting it out up to the shoulder, which, you know, not the greatest thing. Maybe you can just trim it off here on both side seams and kind of get a little bit out of there. When you don't have very many seams, you have fewer options. You can't take it out at the center front unless you want to pivot it out. Totally fine if you want to pivot it out. Just remember that, you know, if you're going to change this center line here, right, and say we change it to here, right, we take out a ½ inch there, which is a whole inch in the waist. We need a right angle again here. Do not forget that, otherwise you'll have a little point like this at your center front waist, okay? Is that at all helpful? I know I went really fast, but I just wanted you to know that even knits need fitting, and you can do a lot with them. They're a lot more flexible, and good fitting knits make a big difference. So yeah, I really need one of those, Emily. So this is the neckline I went with for the back. I didn't pick the low back or the V-neck, and then there's a high back option. I just kind of was like, how about here? So it even looks like it's a little lower than the front, but I don't think so. All right, shall we sew? Now that I've subjected you to a fitting tutorial. All right, so I'm going to get rid of these and these. Put these over here. And let's sort our pattern pieces out. So we're going to overlock that. This is our sleeve. I pulled my labels because I don't want to forget them. This is the perfect dress that needs labels 100% because the front and the back are going to look almost identical, and I want to tell the difference. All right, so that's my skirt. Here's my bodice. Here's my sleeve. And here's my pockets. So I think I'm going to prep my pockets, and then we're just going to start with all these here. And I just need to remember to do these. So this is the back. I put a double notch at the waist for the back. Because I'm so smart. All right, let's go, Serger. Let's move my dress form, whose name I can never remember, besides the fact that it's a Beatrice. Right, Terry? Green. I love green. It's obvious lately, isn't it? I feel like my hair being this color really lends itself to me wearing these Kelly greens now. I love it. All right, so we're gonna do our shoulder seams first. And I'm just using a 4-thread overlock. There's 3/8 inch seams. I'm going to use white thread. I don't have enough green thread to use as a serger. I do have some, but I realized that one of my pet peeves is when you can see the thread color on the back. This is printed, right? So the white really blends in. And I think there's enough white on this side that if this was pulling apart and you saw some of the stitches, it's not going to be detrimental. This stitch is so good on this machine that that doesn't really happen. All right, so we can get our little, well, let's just do our side seams. We'll just finish our bodice real quick. Oh, thanks, Libby. Yeah, I hope I finish this design. I don't know. I think the fabric designing thing is just my own little fun project, you know? I also have it in like, there's 3 coordinating prints. And I just want a little bit more definition on the dots. What you can't see is that there were dots on the solid leaves. Maybe you can see those a little bit. I don't know. And it's because I started playing around with scale. So it made the little dots muddy when they get printed. Oops. These scissors are starting to kind of bug me. All right, so let's do our sleeve. I think this sleeve is interesting in that only the front is marked. Oh, one other note, this sleeve doesn't have a, this is cut really badly, but it doesn't have a hem allowance that wings out. And if you haven't cut yours out, I highly recommend adding that because when it's folded up, you don't really want it to pull where it's sewn to the garment. You want it to meet, right? So I would add that little wing. Just fold it up on the hemline and then cut the paper, and then you'll have that little wing. I could not get that to sew on the fabric. That was really weird. It's like I started, sometimes because I'm standing and sewing, the little foot pedal will get caught on something and then it kind of surges, you know? I'm not sure what, it's like it's not sitting flat. That's the part of the problem. It's like dangling a little bit. There we go. All right, so yeah, only I think the one sleeve, this one side of the sleeve is marked for the front. So this is my front, and this is my, oh, it's perfect, okay. Oh, interesting, Beverly. I had that done when I was in high school, which at the time I was just like, what? And it felt like such an adult thing, you know, to have your colors done. This is the mid-80s. I was a cool winter. I seriously doubt I'm that anymore. All right, so this is the back right here. This is the front. This is the, let's make sure. It's not gonna make too much of a difference on a, oh, I do have the wrong sleeve. That's funny. There's a lot of people that'll just be like, just wear what you want, but we all know that there are some colors we're like, ooh, yeah. I've asked complete strangers when I'm in the fabric store, I'm like, can I bug you? I really love this fabric color. I've always wanted to make something out of it. What do you think? And they're like, nope. I'm like, thanks for your honesty. That really sticks with you. All right, so I've offset my seam allowances. So I pressed my sleeve seam towards the front of the garment, my side seam towards the back. So there's a shoulder notch here. In general, most knit sleeves don't have any easing in them, but look at this. That looks kind of weird. Maybe there's a notch on the armhole. I think there must be a notch on the armhole, and I did not see that. The way the notches are on some of these patterns is that they are the kind of the old school like big four patterns. So I don't know why, but those don't yell at me. They're like the triangles, you know? My bad. There's probably a notch in your armhole, don't forget it. It was big in the 80s, right? You're a moonlit summer. What the heck is the difference? Oh, wait, summer and winter, got it. So much pink. I feel like that this would not have been one of my colors. The funny thing about this color, like this Kelly green, the Kelly green and white were my high school colors. Oh, that scared me. I had a binder clip just sitting here. I sometimes just stick them here so that I have a few for my Serger, you know, and that just went boing. All right, so let's put our other sleeve on. Ignore the orange. I think you could get away with like lots of colors in the orange realm that are, you know, nice and warm. It's funny to talk about colors. Like I wouldn't have any insight because I only know you guys by your words, you know. What I love about the guild, this might sound a little creepy, but I just love seeing everyone's pictures and seeing what you look like and your bios and stuff like that. I just love that to put a face to a name. It's so fun seeing you guys model your garments and stuff. And I love how casual it is too. You know, like everyone's pictures look good. They're just perfect. You're not, you know, and I think that's the difference with, on Instagram, I feel like we're all trying to sell something even if we aren't. You know, you're trying to do like, okay, I really need to rake the leaves in my yard if I take this picture, you know. All right, this is the back, so I want this to go this way. I usually know if I pulled the shoulder seam toward me on one shoulder, it's going to go the other way on the other, but I always double check because then sometimes I'm like, uh-oh, I have the wrong sleeve, you know. Those are your high school colors too, Terry? Imagine if we went to the same high school. I feel like I'm older than you, though. You black all the time when you traveled. You should never wear black. Oh. Yeah, black used to look really good on me. Always still does. I find, too, that now that my hair is white, depends, you know, sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's white, and it does some weird stuff. I'm worried about wearing gray, you know. All right, so here's our bodice. Do you guys think this will be okay? I was a little worried about this fabric as a whole dress. It's really growing on me now, though. It was just the only thing I had enough of that I actually really liked as this kind of dress. All right, so now I'm going to just overlock the edge, this curved edge. I'm going to kind of curve this a little bit nicer of my pocket facing. Terry, your vest turned out amazing. You do like your vests. All right, let's go back to the other machine and see where we're at. Okay. Oh, in Georgia, right? No, I didn't. sadly. I was a jackrabbit, not a peach. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 of my pockets. I'm going to make sure I have a left and a right. Do you know how many times I've made 2 rights or 2 left pockets? We won't talk about it. All right, and so the way I made my facing, I lined it up here for the pattern piece, and that really is just, this is a strategy in commercial pattern drafting. It would allow you to not have a notch because you're like, okay, I have this edge I can rely on. I should probably iron this because it's a little, you know, got a little wavy with the overlocking, but we're going to calm that stuff down now. Let's move these things here. Just going to, oh, let's turn the machine on. Oh yeah, I should have ironed it. Gonna have to ease it a little bit. There's one. At least you wouldn't. Oh, I was like, what? At least you wouldn't be caught out with left and right. If your facing is asymmetrical, you wouldn't be able to sew it on wrong. So a crinkle. Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean about that. Ooh, purple and periwinkle. Periwinkle is the, you know, Pantone color of the year. It's a good year to shop for it. Do any of us really think the Pantone color of the year makes an impact, though, in the world? Because I haven't seen much in the periwinkle. Where's my awl? All right. That was a little hard to ease in there. Okay, so now let's see where we're at. We need our skirts. So I'm going to overlock these pockets to the side seams of the skirt. And you need to make sure that you put your backs on the back skirt. The skirts are identical. The front skirt and the back skirt are identical. So you just need to pick one and commit. And I don't think I like to cut a little notch denoting the center. So we'll make this one our back and that one our front. So we're going to put the ones that have the facing on the back, right? Yeah. You sewed 2 right legs for, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's cool, Beverly. That's smart that they send that because I think there'd be a lot of disappointment. Is it very, is it affordable? You don't have to share the cost if you don't want, but I'm kind of curious. It sounds kind of fun. I don't know. It's not really my jam, to be honest. All right, so we're just going to overlock this to the edge here. And just past the pocket, just go off. Because this is the first time I think I've ever sewn pockets completely with an overlock on the live stream. These pockets are obviously not identical to most side seam pockets, but you would sew these kind of similarly. You just have to make sure you do this little, you need this little transition if you're going to do it all with the serger. I think side seam pockets are a little tedious. You have to sew like 4, and I don't know. Maybe I'm a crybaby. Yeah, I know, right, Barbara? I think in graphics, I see it sometimes used in like visual graphics and things, you know, for marketing and stuff. But even then, I'm like, you know. Try not to stretch out this side seam. I do notice my notches aren't, oh, maybe that's why. I was gonna say they're not quite lining up, so maybe I'm stretching it out. When you notch things, it can also kind of stretch it, you know, right there. It can splay. All right, so it's a little tricky to get on here. If I get these a little bit off left and right, I'll probably trim them to fit because I didn't really like create myself a hard and fast guide. I had the notches, but really I'm just using the cut edge. The notches would be more accurate. All right, so now we have our back pockets on. Let's do our front. Oh yeah, expensive enough, but yeah, but you like you said, you're committed, which is nice. Oh, that's awesome, Beverly. I think that is one thing we've all been talking about a lot lately is trying to skip the eye candy and get the stuff that's more practical to our lives. but eye candy, you know. See that top notch? It's matching. This one right here, let's try and make sure I'm not stretching out this knit. Knit doesn't have a bias, but if you were doing a circle skirt that's in woven, you would have to worry a little bit about this side seam stretching on a woven as well, because it would be at an angle and that would be on the bias. So it's worth being aware of in either case. Okay. What I like about being able to attach the pockets to the garment with the serger is that now I won't have 2 layers of serging around the pocket perimeter. Because normally what I would do is I would overlock all these edges, the side seam and the pocket perimeter. I would overlock the side seams of the garment, and then I would just sew it all together with a straight stitch. But it creates more bulk, and I don't want more bulk under my knit dress. I'm going to lose my pocket opening. Like the markings for it. All right, so I'm going to understitch my pockets because I like to do that. It makes it flatter. Even on knit, it'll be nice. Oh no, that doesn't sound good, Sydney. But congratulations. Did you call it a stupid face a couple times? So I'm going to press my seam allowance towards the pocket and understitch the seam to the pocket. I think side seam pockets are great, but they're a little bulky. And so this kind of helps reduce that bulk at the opening there. Oof. I could have swung down more. That looks so flat now. I really thought I came up more. We'll make it, but it's going to be tight. I imagine you're saying yes to the you called it a stupid face. But maybe you're just replying to Libby. last one. We're almost done with our dress in some ways. Skirt side seams, waist seam, hems. That's it. I'm still going to define the pocket opening once everything is overlocked. All right. Let's go overlock. I feel like I'm rushing. Do you guys feel like I'm rushing? Sorry. Ooh, why is it so dark? Why didn't you tell me it was so dark? You're not watching, are you? I'm so hurt. Why'd that get so dark? Oh, I think I adjusted it right before I went live because of the pattern pieces were in the white paper. All right, here we go. All right, so now we're going to put our side seam together and we're going to go around the pocket and down the side. And, you know, you could drop your knife if you're still feeling a little bit iffy about that juncture at the side seam at the bottom there. So also I wanted to mention that I'm using I said I'm using a 4-thread stitch, but that also means that it's doing the seam and the overlocking. My old serger used to put the seam next to the overcast edge, but this one doesn't. And that means that's why I can do this in a single pass. My foot just keeps getting caught on something. There's nothing down there. I don't know what it's getting caught on. Otherwise, sometimes what I've done is, you know, like when I had a 3-thread serger and I didn't have that seam, I would just do the overlocking and then go back and do a seam next to it. This tension's too tight for the poplin on the serger. All right, so we're going to try and stack our seams one on top of the other here, right here, this juncture. Try and get those seams stacked. But if they're not, it's going to be okay. We're going to fix it in the next step, but it's nice if they're pretty good. All right, so we're going to try and make this. This is going to want, and if you want, you can pre-sew this little juncture here. This is the pocket, this is the skirt on your straight stitch machine. I'm not going to drop my knife just in case people don't have that capability. What you don't want to happen is when you're turning that corner there, right here at that curve, you don't want that to drop away from your needles that are sewing the stitch. I don't know about you, but I have that problem when I do like a zipper fly. So I have to be really careful when I'm turning a corner that right here, I don't shortchange this little thing with the sewing part, because that's what we're doing, right? We're doing the sewing. Okay. Yeah, it does, Emily. And I really like it because when I have something in my pocket and it's a stretchy fabric, the pocket starts like hanging down low and I'm kicking my car keys with my thigh. And it's kind of uncomfortable, you know? All right, so we're doing our other one here. Okay, I want to know, what are you catching on? Is it really that? Why? All right. trying to keep the dress on the table because the knit's really heavy, you know, like it can really pull on your needles and you really don't want that on your serger. All right, so here we are. We're coming to that juncture again. Like I said, you want to stack those seams right there. You can pre-sew this little area if you want because my machine's going to want to push this top layer off of that seam. In general, I like to sew with a lot of pressure on my presser foot, but I do adjust it more often on the serger and the cover stitch because it makes a difference. I'm finding it makes a difference on how it sews. And I need to be less rigid about having that firm pressure. I use it kind of like a crutch, you know, like I love having the firm pressure because it's like a helping hand, you know, holding my stuff for me. All right, let's define the opening. On this one, I didn't really leave serger tails to speak of, like I just trimmed it off. But like this, you know, because I'm going to clean finish these hems like this, I don't have to worry about tucking that in there. So it's not as critical. None of these seams, the serging edge is going to be exposed to the outside of the garment, meaning like hanging out from the edge of the garment, like on some hem junctures. These will all get enclosed, so it's not as critical. So yeah, I didn't really think about it. All right, so I can still see my notch right there. So we're going to stack this seam, and we're going to sew a seam now next to this seam up to the notch, and we're going to sew one from the lower notch down. Is that it? You might have to have your pattern handy. Good thing mine is. See, this is the marking. It's really easy for me to miss that. Okay. And you can make your pocket opening as big as you want. I say if you're adjusting your pocket opening width, use the bottom one. Move it up and down. Let's see what we think about that pocket opening. It looks kind of small. And with knits, when they're kind of stretchy, you know. Oh wait, it's not actually going through both layers. Let's check it out. Oh, that's pretty small. Look at that tension, is just not quite right for this poplin. It's wrinkly because it's pre-washed. Oh, that's better. 5 3/4 is what I ended up going with. It's probably because it's kind of thick, you know. All right, so now we're going to sew to the left of that seam. And then we're going to blend this one in with the lower side seam. This was really, honestly, not too bad to sew. And I feel like I still remain true to my side seam, thankfully. I was a little worried that I might not. Come on. It's having a little trouble feeding right there because of the thickness. So let's go. Oh, this one doesn't stick. Oops, don't do that. Please don't do that. All right, let's smooth that out. You see that? It's because this is thick and this is thin over here. Let's blend that in. All right, let's see what it looks like on the right side. See if I caught all the seams there, above and below. All right, let's see how it looks. So this is how it would look. Yeah, and it's pretty invisible. See, there's that pocket facing, that's the top pocket. And see, when you press that, understitch that, it helps kind of pull it to the inside. And then when you do that seam kind of far away from this edge, the seam here, when you sew this seam to define the pocket opening, it kind of creates that little bit of extra there to kind of make it all look nice and invisible. All right, so let's do our other one. And we're gonna do our waist seam. And then we're gonna cover stitch a lot. Okay, so I can see my top knot here. I wanna check my, yeah, okay. Just making sure it's all lined up on top. It helps if I can keep my presser foot firmly on the seam allowance. It won't slip off. All right, and then let's measure our opening on this side. I mean, this opening lines up with this notch on this side. Go figure. It's about right there. Yeah, it's those simple little things you can do, and it just doesn't look great on the inside. They never really do, right? They're such a weird pattern piece in general. All right. Waiting for my presser foot to come down. All right, so. See if I can keep my presser foot firmly on this seam allowance here so it doesn't slip off. Oh, see, there it goes. It wants to slip off right there. And then just blend it in with the seam allowance. You see nothing. As I say blend it in, I see this jiggity jog. Let's blend it in better. There we go. All right, trim your threads. Okay, so now what we can do, now if you were doing this on a skirt that has gathers, you're going to gather the skirt and then lay your pocket against it. You can gather it up if you want, but you don't have to, right? You could lay nice and flat and it'll be less bulky there. This is a no gather waist. So let's see, which way is it going? What is this thread right here? Oh, look at that back stitch. It's kind of crazy. It went like kind of winged off into the garment. Let's fix that right there. Pull those threads to the back. Sometimes the back stitch doesn't stay in the same direction that you're sewing. See, like it still wants to veer out. Let's get rid of those needle holes. There we go. It's a little better. But I think I'm going to flip it over and do it again. I really want to make sure my back stitch doesn't come undone on my pocket opening, right? That's a high stress area. Better safe than sorry now, because by the time you get around to fixing it and you've worn it a few times, it'll just get bigger and bigger, right? Okay, so our back pocket, this is the back, so this is the front. And so we're just going to line this up along the edge here, and we'll just tack it. Because now we can just treat it as one with the waist seam. There we go. Now our skirt's ready to attach to the bodice. And let's see, we have our This is our back. All right. We'll just stick it in here. And we're going to line up our side seams and our centers and sew it on. And so I'm just going to tack it on my single needle machine so I don't have to use any pins. Your side seam on your skirt is going to go forward because of that side seam pocket. So then that's kind of nice for the bodice because it can nestle in there, and it'll probably be easier to get that seam perfectly lined up bodice to skirt, which is kind of nice, right? All right, so this one here, so the side seam on the bodice goes back. You can use binder clips too. That would work great here, you know? All right, and then we have our centers. I'm looking forward to trying this one on. My favorite dresses to wear at home on the weekends in the summer are the knit monettas I have. All right. I think I'll just start just behind this pocket here. Oh, you know what I didn't mention is it is recommended in this pattern to use clear elastic, especially at this step here. And so I've done this with and without, these dresses with and without clear elastic. And so that clear elastic, it's very thin. It's often called swimsuit elastic. It doesn't have like this amazing amount of stretch, but what it does is it stabilizes a stretchy seam. So it can still stretch, but it gives it a little bit more stability so that it doesn't get stretched out. And I don't have any of it. I thought I had some, I don't have any. So I'm skipping it. And I haven't found that my dresses get stretched out without it. It's great on shoulder seams and waist seams. So if you're using it, it's very easy to use. You're literally going to just take that little piece of elastic. It's like a 1/2 inch wide. I don't have anything that's like a 1/2 inch wide here. We'll just pretend. My foot actually has a tape foot. You unscrew this little thing and you put the tape through there. I think like that might be helpful. I don't know. I've never tried it. It's gonna have to be kind of narrow to do it, but it might help you keep it in check. Honestly though, you just line it up with the edge. Just line it up flush with the edge and serge it on. That's all you do. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to stretch it while you do it. You just attach it as one to the seam and it will stabilize it. And a little tiny bit of it will hang past the seam because most likely your serger is not as wide as that elastic is. And that doesn't seem to affect it at all. So make sure you don't pulling this when you're sewing it. You're just kind of keeping it nice and smooth. Just lining up my... So it'll feel like, see how it wants to droop down? This is because it's a circle skirt. The seam's down here. So when you line it up, the seam there, it is laying flat. It just doesn't feel like it. Yeah, exactly. A lot of machines have a tape foot. Mine has a built-in tape guide. I haven't used it yet. I almost tried with the elastic sewing stuff, and when I saw, I was like, I don't think my elastic's going to fit in there, and I was a little worried just like about the fiddle factor, right? Something like the clear elastic is pretty easy to lay on here, since you're not having to stretch anything. If you were, if you're like having trouble positioning things, then maybe that one's a pretty good one to do without a problem. All right, we're getting to our side seam. I pre-sewed it. I still don't want it to get off. All right, and so now we have the front. Line up those center notches. Like I said, skirt will feel a little bigger. It's just not. It's just because of the circle thing. A lot of elastics are too wide for your tape foot. See, that's what I was wondering about this. This little opening looks like it would be for rickrack, which I don't know why you'd ever be serging rickrack. You know, because a lot of rickracks are tiny, you know. Instead of a tape foot, I really, really wish this had a little tongue on the presser foot that stuck out in front of the blade that was static. Because that's what an industrial serger has, and it makes a huge difference. Because you know how sometimes you're trying to get your fabric right here in front of the blade to get pushed down and get under the blade because it's kind of thick? That little tongue is what prevents that from happening. It helps. You don't have to do that. You don't have to fiddle with it while you're sewing. It's a lot of dress right here. My pocket wants to get caught on here, right? Because it's like opening up. So just make sure you get that all righted. Make sure you catch all your layers. This woven pocket will help stabilize my waistline a little bit in a little area. But you know, it's also static and doesn't stretch, so. This is the skirt and that's the front, so I want, wait, this is the bodice. I was like, wait, why is this, yeah. Why is it going back and forth? Come on, foot. So try and line up your stitches with these other stitches, but don't nick them with your blade. Try and go off at a right angle. This is where I do leave a tail. I just leave a little tail there so I can grab it. Okay, so now we're at the cover stitch portion. I don't think I need this at all now. So I'm gonna do this. Quickest way to move my machines, just trade the cords. There you go. Same cord. All right, but let's, we're gonna iron a little bit. My iron's not on yet, so don't worry. Okay, so I think let's do a couple of touch-ups while that's heating up real quick. We're gonna attach the label at the neckline so we don't forget it, and we're going to secure this thread, this serger tail, and I'm just going to do what I do on the elastics things, but I'm not going to top stitch it. So I'm going to put it toward the bodice. This is the bodice because, wait, is that what I want? Yeah, because when you're wearing this, your waist seam should go up, and so if I put it towards the bodice, it'll be tucked behind it, between the bodice and the seam. And now I'll just cut it. I know you can thread it in the seam allowance too. All right, but that's way faster and really secure. All right, so now we're going to add the labels. Yeah, I'm going to try and do this on the fly. I have a feeling I'm going to have trouble with it, to be quite honest. I think my machine will go bloop when I go around them, you know. That's the technical term for that, you know. Trying to find the center without distorting it. There we It's only like a 3/8 inch hem. And then we'll hem this right over it like this. I kind of hate that I just nicked that. Like that I, you know, that I did the triangle there. All right, so let's line that up. Because I'll probably be able to see that triangle, and it obviously left me less real estate. This is how I do this, right? I can do that, right? I'm not thinking about. You think it looks tighter with the threading? I think it's about the same depending on the thread. Some of the threads are kind of thick, and I agree with you there. Or maybe the color, you know, but like on that white and like the fact that it'll be like pressed up, the seam presses up, and so, you know, it's invisible, right? I don't even know where I did it. Or it's on the back somewhere. Right there. So. He needs an attitude adjustment. Well, I'm going to iron my cover stitch hems here. I wouldn't if you weren't watching. But yeah, I'm going to iron my cover stitch hems so that I can do them with confidence. Confidence. And it's a circle skirt, right? So yeah, I think that this is being kind to my future self. So I would consider sometimes securing not the tail, but the seam right here, because I'll get a little nervous when I'm doing hems that I'll pull on it and pull it apart a little bit. This is the front. Do you love how I always say things out loud? This is the front. I'm going to do like a 1/2 inch hem. 3/8 is pretty small to grab and handle, but on a circle skirt, smaller the better. I can get away with a 1/2 inch because it's knit. There's no neckband. It's supposed to be lined, but I'm definitely not going to line it because I didn't have enough fabric, and even if I would have used a lining fabric, it would have added so much thickness. It's just too warm here for that. But if someone's doing the V-neck, like I said, you have to line it. You really can't get away from that. There are ways to hem a V-neck knit, but yeah, it's a little dicey. See, the wool mat kind of, like, because it's holding the heat, it's really cool. I've really grown to love this thing. You could put a neckband on, though. That'd be really cute. You know, one thing that would be kind of cute is, so day before yesterday, after the stream, I sewed a lot of my underwear, and for the, that flat fold over elastic that was unfolded, I did use that in a few waistbands at just the sticking straight out flat from the top of the waistband, and it works really good. That actually would look really cute on this. Just a simple flat white tape sticking out from the seam. Sort of tempted. You could do a band. Yes, I did say that earlier, Sydney. Yeah, but this pattern, this doesn't have a band included for the V-neck. But you're right. If you're doing a V-neck and you're doing a band, you know, like a crew neck t-shirt has a crew neck band. Same thing with a V-neck. You'd need that. You need a seam there. But to fold and hem it, you're very skilled. Okay. Yeah, you could do that too, Libby. Well, with a V-neck, I don't know about that with a V-neck. That would be tough. But yeah, with a scoop or any kind of circle, yeah, you could do some sort of binding. You could do a cover stitch binding, you know, like a single fold, so that it's flat on the inside and cover stitched down on any of the curves. All right, so that's the hem. Let's do the sleeve. Oh, make sure your junctures, can you kind of see this right here is sticking up just a tiny bit. Make sure these junctures are nice and smooth if you're going to cover stitch your hems. And this goes this way. All right. So I've worked places where they were very, very particular about what side you sewed your serging on. And I always forget to give this tip till it's too late. But I will often serge my seams with the front of the garment up. So if I'm sewing a side seam, you know, the front to the back, the front pattern piece is on top of the bed of the machine, because then the theoretically nice side of the serging is on the front. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you're consistent. And then I know, oh, that's the front. When I am at that seam juncture, I can just push it the direction I want, knowing where I'm at without having to like look inside the garment like, is this the front or the back, you know? But one place I worked was super particular about that serging, the nice side of the serging being the side that pushed to the back. And that's kind of where I learned that tip, because we were like, oh, this saves us time. Yeah, I agree, Sydney. You can line it though. You can just cut it in lining, but lining knits is, I don't know. Why didn't I have a tail on under my sleeves? Look at that. I didn't have a tail there. It's nice and, I should have a tail on each one of my underarms. Did I already handle it? Well, there's one right there. This tension on my serger is tight enough that that's kind of working, which shocks me. All right, here we go. So when I'm doing sleeves like this, I turn it right side out and iron it like this because it's easier. But what I've found too is the right side of the serging wants to push the other way. The underside of the serger stitches are more dominant and they pull it to the other direction. Yeah, Dalwin, I guess you could do that. What about, would you ever use like, I don't, you know me, I never use the like iron-on glues and things, but maybe you could do that. I'll bet this pattern tells you to use that stuff, the Wonder Tape. They love Wonder Tape at 5 out of 4. So much so, I don't print the instructions because I can't tell what I'm supposed to do because all they say is attach Wonder Tape. And I think that's awesome. Like, it's really helpful for people. For me, I'm like, no, I don't want to use that. Wah. All right, so here's my neckline at the shoulder. People say, oh, you're a Taurus, you must be stubborn. And I'm like, no. I'm not stubborn. I don't know, Barbara. I feel like I'm unsure of that. See, this is what I'm talking about. I think you could secure this little seam right here before you're ironing it, because like just put a little straight stitch across so you're not pulling it apart. Yeah, I am not a big fan of lining knit. Okay, but there's some really good reasons to do it as far as modesty goes. If you don't want lumps and bumps of your bra to show through as well, I know someone's probably going to say, get a better fitting bra, but that's just, sometimes it's just not possible, right? Like you have your bra, whatever. It will help to kind of give you more modesty, smooth out the bumps. And what if you work in an air-conditioned office and you're like, I really want to wear this, but I am a little cold. Another good reason for modesty. But I was thinking of warmth. I'm stubborn about being stubborn. And using stuff that it's like, I think that stuff like Wonder Tape and Stitch Witchery, all that stuff's amazing. But it makes me so stubborn. I'm like, yeah, but 100 years ago they didn't have it, so what did they do? That's why I don't use it. Ouch. Because I know it's possible not to use it. And sometimes you just don't want to have to rely on something that'll run out. Okay. I never would have pre-ironed this before. I would have already been done by now. But I'm getting to know this machine, and I want it to turn out a little nicer than I've probably gotten. I don't know. I actually got really good at my cover stitch. It really fed well and accurate. This one does too. I'm just not used to where I place things quite yet. So I'm just setting myself up to be successful. Around these curves it's tough though. That Wonder Tape sounded pretty good right now, because what'll happen is when you're going through the serger, this will go like that, right? And you miss it. They had crooked zippers they didn't have to sew with. Hi, Ray. How's it going? Yeah, there you go. They hand stitched. They basted. The basters out there are like, I know exactly what they did. They basted. You guys are all crazy for not basting. All right, let's start on our hem. I'm going to start just behind this seam here. Oh, I know I haven't sewn anything on my cover stitch yet. I rethreaded it with white, but I haven't sewn anything yet. So let's, oh, let me move my machine over, sorry. Oi. I really need to get some more stretch needles. I'm on my last ones for my serger and my home machine. I really went through a few. On that zigzag on the bump, oof. Oof. All right, so here's my tip. If you're cover stitching, line up this raw edge to the left needle, right? And then I'm going to use this piece of tape against this fold, because this fold does not even go up to any of my seam allowance lines. All right, just like that. Now we'll flip it over. Now all I have to worry about, as long as I've ironed straight, which we all know I haven't, is just keeping this fold lined up to there, and it should land on the folded fabric. Don't pull. Ooh, what is that sound though? That's not sounding good. Am I stuck? Oh, I'm missing. Does it sound weird to you guys? I'm gonna go over a little bit. There we go. Okay. What the heck? Why'd you do that? Oh, you're all twisted up here. Is that why? You were making a weird noise? Let's put this back here. That's back here. Maybe I should do some adjustments. I know I adjusted my serger for this, but I'm not sure I adjusted my cover stitch for this today. Can't remember now. That sounds better. So when I break a thread like that, I just rethread it and I go back and I find that spot and I restitch the stitches that are missing. It's a 1/2 inch. That was a weird sound, right? The Wonder Tape drew you in. Have you used that, Ray? Do you like it? Does it work wonders? I could honestly probably use a new needle. It's probably a little bit why it's cranky. This just feels really shallow. But I'm on there. It just feels so shallow. I usually always hem my knits at 7/8 of an inch. I don't know why, it just has stuck from working somewhere, and I don't know why that amount, like it's not a whole inch, it's not 3/4, it's just, I don't know, that's what we did. Ooh. It's hard to keep an even speed when you're standing up. All right, we're about to go over a thickness here. So this machine is so much happier with them than my old machine. So I usually lift up my presser foot to get it onto the bump. Otherwise I get a little wibble, you know, or a wobble. I might still get one, we'll see. Oh, that looks okay. I like practicing on the hem before I get to the neck. The neck is the hardest. So if you don't have a cover stitch or a serger, you can zigzag the hem. I think it looks great. I am not one of those people that thinks that that looks not ready to wear enough. I really like the way that looks. You might have a stretch stitch. I have overlocked the edge and straight stitched with my regular machine. That will be fine. This is not a seam that needs to stretch. As long as you're using like a ballpoint needle, you should be fine. Oh, that didn't sound good. What was that? I think we're almost done with this big, long thing. Hey Virginia, how's it going? Yeah, that sounded weird. That's an awesome idea. So is it removable? Tell me more, tell me more. All right, right through here, I want to remove this. Let's see if I can just remove it. I've been getting kind of good at finding the one thread to rule them all. Oh, but I think I might have to go, no, this is right. Let's see if we can just find it. cool, Terry. Steam a seam and wonder tape. It's often wash away. Okay. Trying to look at chat while I do this. Not a good idea. Where is it? I think it might be going this direction. Let's see though. Sorry. I get a little determined. I'm not stubborn at all. Okay, it might be this way. Let's go to here. Yeah, I think it's this way. Yeah, this is it. Pretty sure. Oh, I thought that was it. Well, phooey. I just took apart a whole thing and I did it kind of to practice finding the thread that pulls it all. I feel like this is it. Yeah. It just keeps locking up. There it is. Woo! Oh my goodness. That right there is so satisfying. All right, we'll just take out this right here and we'll start our front section. Just do our, not front, the first part that we did. It's because there was like a couple inches where I didn't catch it. There we go. It sounds like I need new needles. That's what that sound is. All right, so I did it for like an inch. That dress does deserve a sweary label. All right, so there's our hem. And I kind of want to remember to lock those. Okay, so let's see how it looks. See, I was getting a little nervous in I folded that a little too much. That's pretty good in some places. Right here. Missed it right here. Always after a thickness, that's what happens. So see, this is why, so you understand. See how this seam right here is folding this way toward the down, right? So I don't know if you can tell, but this right here is going out further than this side right here because it's got the fold of the fabric, right? And so what happens is it pulls the fabric away from the stitching right there. So see? So that's what happens when you go over those thicknesses sometimes. You got to kind of compensate, and I forget to do that. All right, so here's the sleeve. All right, and so I'm going to do it from the right side of the garment. So here's a thickness too. So this is why I like starting behind a seam sometimes, especially if it's not the side with the lump, you know? Because I know my needles probably need changing, I'm a little nervous. I want to get to that neckline before they're not sewing very good. I did just change them, but you know, I did so much elastic. Elastic, I think, is worse than rotary knifing paper with your rotary. You know, like people are always like, oh, do you rotary knife with your fabric blade and your paper blade? Yeah, I do. I use it on both. We all know that. Look at that. It's like way in there. Straighten it out a little bit. Stop being a scaredy cat, Saramy. You got this. I'm going to go over a little. I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it. Yeah. I should have taken that out rather than stitching over it. All right. All right. There's the other sleeve. Heat and Bond from the 70s. Really? Is it from the 70s? Talk about a product that's probably paid for itself and is pure profit now, huh? All right, so this is the front. Let's try and be more brave this time. So this time I'm starting on the side with the seam allowance pressed back, and so I'm starting on that side, so that's the side that has the blump. So this is a perfect condition where this might fall short and away from the edge. So let's try and stabilize that. I'm gonna kind of pull this down to kind of lessen that stretching that could be happening. So I always say this, but if you don't have a free arm on your cover stitch, this is how you can do these little tiny circles like this. You turn the garment inside out so that the whole garment's sitting above. Otherwise it's really fiddly. All right, so let's see here. I always cut these threads when I'm approaching so I don't immortalize them in there and I have to dig them out, you know? Okay, trim. This one felt like it went better. I was still a little chicken and came in a little too far. All right, time to do the one that's scary. The neckline. So this might be a good place to use the binder clips. I'll look at a few. Let's see. Maybe that'll help me. This is a pretty significant curve, so. You know, it's not like this hem allowance has extra along this cut edge to splay out, right? So it wants to, you know, do this, flip in. I just don't think the binder clips are going to help much, but we'll still do it. Yeah, it was frowned upon. Yes, that does sound very familiar. I think that definitely shaped me steering clear of things as far as, not in school though. In school, there wasn't an emphasis on sewing in school. I knew how to sew when I got there, thank goodness, because their how to sew course was, they just threw you to the wolves, basically. That's how fashion school is, though. It is woof eat woof. So, yeah, let it begin with the sewing, right? But I think in factories, they're not going to do a lot of those things because of cost. They want the least amount of hands-on time on a garment as possible. But in a nicer factory or a place doing custom or tailoring or any of that kind of stuff, those things are very widely used and encouraged because you want to guarantee success more often in those environments, because usually the cost of the garment is more because you're either in a better wear factory and they have too much invested in the garment, or they have a client that's willing to pay I'm already regretting these binder clips. And you really can't take it apart more than once sometimes to fix whatever you're fixing if it's like a tailoring place. Is this the, that's the back, okay. I would start, usually if I was doing not cover stitch, like if I was doing a single needle straight stitch on woven, I start on the shoulder seams, I never start at the center back. I like my back stitch to be kind of hidden on the shoulder seam. It's less noticeable. All right, I think I need to go a little further in. This is a very narrow seam allowance. All right, so this is a curve right here, right? So I'm going to try and get this to relax, and I'm going to feel that little cut edge under there and just kind of make sure I'm catching it. Ooh, I hope I caught it. We'll see. So what else could you do besides cover stitch? You know, if this is something that you've done this a few times on your neckline and you're like, gosh darn it, every time I go around the curve, it falls away from the stitching. You can overlock this edge and top stitch it. If you put in that seam tape, the clear elastic tape, that would give it some stability. If you've lined this, you're not worried about this at all, right? You could have lined it. Okay, so far we're okay. You can zigzag it, you can just stretch stitch it. And then you would be doing it from the other side. You wouldn't be doing it blind like I am. Oh, that's awesome, Virginia. That little clacking is the binder clip. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not. We don't have much more to go. We're doing good here. I'm really being cautious, aren't I? Aren't you guys proud of me? Ooh, I feel like I'm really far away from the edge right now. All right, so this is my label. Okay. Remembered my labels, Ray. All right, here we are at the beginning. Let's trim our threads so we don't immortalize them in there, right? Let's trim this right here. Such a good opportunity right there. I had a little like chahunka. Okay. Ooh, get back over there. Get back over there. All right. Yay, we're done. Okay, so let's take it over to the machine and do any touch-ups we might need. The machine. I know we were already at a machine. Okay. Let's see. How does our neck look? Did I catch them all? Oh, the label looks okay. That's good. A little, I mean, I folded this a little wider and came in a little narrower. If I had done both accurately, it would have been fine, but nope. You can trim that edge if you want to, you know. If you're trimming this, I suggest going like this, like put the garment towards you, fold it up, and then trim it, because then you're not at risk to trim the garment as much. You can see it. It's very risky no matter what. And yes, I've trimmed the garment before. See, because you want to go like this, right? And that this works pretty good, you know, with your, you think, okay, I can't catch the garment in there. You can still catch the garment in there. Multitasking patterns. Like with different views. I forgot about Kirsten Martinson. Yeah, you could do, are you talking to me, Libby, with the bias strip? I guess you could. If the opening is big enough, you really could do something that is more static because it doesn't need to stretch to get over your head. That's true. That's a good point. All right. Let's see how my sleeve hems look. I feel like it's the ultimate test. It's not bad. I double sewed this little area here. I'll go back and take out some of those stitches. Better look now, right? All right, let's do the hem. There was that one little area right here that I need to catch. Or what did I need to do? Oh, I wanted to secure my back stitch because you can't back stitch with the cover stitch. I don't usually though, but it felt like even though I did my little lock thing that I'm supposed to do with this machine to get it to not pull out, it felt like it was still going to do that. So I feel like this is probably a good idea to make sure I'm not going to have that happen. All right, and remember we saw one spot where it didn't catch. Oh, it was this too. Remember I broke the thread? Let's fix this. I really could have matched my stitch length a little better so it blended in. Oh, that's true, Virginia. I forgot about twin needles. Thank you for bringing that up. I totally forgot about twin needles. Yeah, that's a good point. Here, there it is right here. So when I have this happen right here, so this is what I was talking about before. So you see this, how this is, let's see if I can really show you. So let me show you on the background of the white fabric. All right. So you see how this seam allowance is pressing that way? And can you see right here this little different, you know, it's just thicker there, right? So it sticks out. It's not a continuous smooth line right here. So that's why this pulls away, because it's already being asked to go around the thickness of 2 layers of seam allowance. So when I have to do this, I usually fake it. I pull it over like this, and I try and catch it in the stitches. And it's going to probably be the row of stitches near to the hem, because taking out your cover stitch and fixing that for that little 1/2 inch is kind of a recipe for dealing with more than you really want to have to deal with if it doesn't work out. Height difference, thank you. Hey Michelle, how's it going? I just finished. I'm going to put it on the dress form. There's any other spots on my skirt hem? This looks okay. All right, let's check it out. Let's put it on the dress form. My dress form is a little smaller than I am right now. Whoa, don't fall over, please. Okay. I don't usually sew my fittings like that too. I meant to mention that. The reason I did was it's a lot easier to get on and off the dress form in that really stretchy stuff. I was having so much trouble getting it to get on the dress form when it was not sewn. So I cheated and sewed those seams together, knowing the fitting little thing I wanted to do was just brief. But I would normally just pin those seams to themselves. It looks like the picture. It's so grabby. This cover is so grabby. The knit is so grabby. Oh, I should have probably ironed my neckline, but it looks pretty good actually. I made it a little bigger because I'm a little bigger than this dress form right now. Oh yeah, that's cute. Okay, I kind of like this fabric. It looks blue-green in the picture, but, I mean in the screen, but, ooh, those pockets are so nice. They're staying forward. Very cute. Hey, April, how's it going? Have you ever reversed just the hem on yeah, I have, Barbara. Sometimes I've twisted it, but I actually think like it didn't really help me in the long run. Oh no, April, really? Yeah, it looks good. This fits nice up here. And I made my waist a little bigger. Armhole looks good. I love how the pockets came out, and I love that they're anchored towards the front. Very cute. And then, you know, it's a circle skirt, you know, so it's got that fullness. You guys are just being nice about the fabric. I'm teasing, but yeah. I think this was my favorite of the 3 prints. Yay! It's funny how blue-green it looks on this full screen. I think I could change that. Is it this? That helped me. Did it help for you? Oh, Ray. Thank you, Ray. I don't have alerts on this. Let's see. Let's see if we can get her alert. Yeah. Add. Oh, but I don't see your alert in the feed. Yep, I don't see your alert in the feed. Dang! No swimming kitty today. Sorry. I will, Nancy. That's so true. Nobody's pinching me. Ooh, the pockets look so good. Ooh, I can't wait to try it on. Oh, here's another one of those blumps at the juncture here. Yeah. Fast. Look at it. It's 1 o'clock and we have a whole dress, start to finish, plus the fitting thing that I breezed through in the beginning. So, oh, there it is. Oh, it's not a swimming cat. I'm thinking of the swimming corgi. That was the cat chasing. There it is. You're not that nice. Beverly, of all people, you are one of the nicest people. Beverly, you guys is always like, oh, I did the timestamps for this video, and then no one asked her to, and she just does it and sends them to me. It doesn't blue. Okay, I feel like I color corrected it a little bit. It's definitely a Kelly green. Yeah, you know, with a name like Duffy, I suppose I should represent a little bit on St. Patrick's Day. There's even a Duffy's Tavern in town. We don't own it. Yay. We like the alert, Ray. We need the alert. Well, that was fun. Looks a little big through the waist. But that's kind of nice too, right? Oh yeah, it looks a little big there. Look at that. Yeah. Cool. Yay. All right. Well, that's it. That's all I have for you today. That was a fast one. I won't be live next week, but I do have my schedule here. So 2 weeks in, well, like a little over a week and a half, on the 16th. Maybe I'll wear this on St. Patrick's Day. I'll actually be here with you. Oh, nice, Libby. Cool. I'll be making the Girl Friday blouse by Decades of Style. Hearts Fabric sent it to us. Very cool blouse. I highly recommend checking it out because Most of the versions encourage you to hand stitch through the collar to give it its body. It's really cool. I picked this one from the website because the fabric we're using is, I'm not going to hand stitch it. It's just a solid fabric, and it's got 3 layers of collar. And it's got a really interesting point, 3 points on the collar. It's really cool. Yeah, April, and at least you can watch it at double speed, right? Exactly, Michelle, exactly. It does look a little big. It's probably partly, I didn't use that stabilizing tape. So once it's been washed, it's gonna bounce back a little bit. Even if I'm not stretching it out, you still have that surging seam kind of pushing it, you know, so. Anyway, so then, and then after that, I'm doing the overalls. I feel like changing my mind on that, but we'll see. I'm itchy. So yeah, wait, let's do full screen, yeah. Woo, woo. It matches my bag over there, which definitely looks more Kelly green on the wall. Nice. All right, well, I'm sorry it's short. It's not a short one. It's perfect, right? The back does look good, doesn't it? I love circle things too because there's no bulk at the waist. And I can see like the seam is flaring there. Can you see that? Yeah, it'll be good. The sleeve looks really good too. It's kind of asymmetrical there. So a lot of knit or shirts have that little, you know, wing that we saw right there that I pinched out. And you don't know about it usually when you put a sleeve on, and it's not a big deal. Just so you know, I meant to say that during the fitting thing. Yeah, right, Libby? Well, you know, it helped that because I had designed the fabric, I was like, oh, I could just use that. It made it so quick. It was so fun. I did, Ray. You know what? I don't have them here. I already took them home, but I took pictures. I think I'm going to do a whole video about that experiment so that it's boiled down to the essentials, you know, because it was so much. We spent so much time doing the experimenting part. But I ended up using the fold over as a picot, like meaning like I pretended like it was one layer and sewed it in that way. I didn't use it as a fold over, and it worked great. I'm wearing a pair right now. They're awesome. I don't even feel them on. And then I also played around with using the fold over on the waist without folding it at all, just like sticking straight up from the waist. It was great. I had serged it all on and zigzagged the top stitch. Tedious. I'm really sad that I can't make cover stitch work, you know, because the cover stitch is so fast, you know, and fold over with a cover stitch or fold over with a zigzag, fold over with a cover stitch. That'd be so fast. You could sew underwear in 5 minutes. But we did the math, right? And we know now what's best. So just pick a stretchy fabric and I can do whatever I want, huh? All right. Well, if I don't see you in the guild, I'll see you here on March 16th, cutting the Girl Friday blouse. Yeah, I had a ton of it too. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, I'll see you around. Hopefully I'll see you in the guild. And have a great weekend. Happy sewing, you guys. It was nice spending the week with you. I love it. And I'll see you guys soon. Happy March too. It's just getting going. See you soon. Bye. Look at that dress in the thumbnail. Looks just like it.